What's up everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Steven. In today's video we're going to be checking out NF's The Search album. This is going to be the first album that I've ever listened to all the way through from him, and I'm really excited. Now I have checked out a couple of singles. As you guys know, I did have a hip-hop channel as well. It's still up, but I'm actually going to upload everything over here now, so if you feel like you saw me before doing NF, that's why. But obviously I'm stoked to check this album out. I'm going to have the lyric sheet pulled up. I'm going to have it all ready to go so that we can really dive into this album and talk about it. Before we get into today's video though, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, which is Keep Real and Keep Champion. Keep Real and Keep Champion actually specializes in hip-hop jewelry, so they make a lot of Cuban links. They make a lot of bracelets, necklaces, rings, CZ diamonds, all kinds of other cool stuff. And the best part is it doesn't break the bank. So here's the thing. I've got nice jewelry. I have nice things. I don't like to often wear them out because I feel like I'm doing too much and I'm constantly worried about messing them up, damaging them. And the coolest thing about Keep Real and Keep Champion is that they make the same style of jewelry, but it's actually gold plated instead of being full gold. The benefit to this is that you're not paying the extreme cost of the weight of gold to make these expensive Cuban links. Instead, you're using about 1/100th of the price to actually get something. So I really like it. They also have a lot of cool styles on their website, as well as if you are a heavyweight and you want to get the expensive all gold chains, they can do that for you. They do custom jewelry as well, which I think is super cool. I was really excited for them to reach out. They actually sent me a Cuban link as well as a really cool bracelet that matches. But again, I can't wear it all at the same time because then you're doing too much. And the best part about all the jewelry is that they give you a full 1-year warranty. So if anything goes wrong within that year, if a clasp breaks, if it's damaged, if it starts to fade within that year, they will replace it for you, which was one of the biggest reasons that I was so cool with going ahead with this partnership, because I think that's a really cool thing for a company to do, to actually support their customers after checkout. And that's not it. They were nice enough to actually sponsor this channel as well as hook us all up with a sweet 20% off discount. So if you use the code Steven at checkout, you're gonna get 20% off your entire order. You can check the first link in the description for their website. You can also check the pinned comment down below. Make sure to check them out and support them because they're supporting us, and that's always cool. So make sure to stop by their site and check out some of their newest styles today. Okay, so I'm obviously stoked to get into this album because I kind of know what to expect, but I also know that lyrically that's really where he shines. So I do have my lyrics pulled up, so if my screen sometimes seems a little bright or that I'm not really paying attention to you guys, I just have my lyrics here, and I think that if you're really going to take this album in, or any album of his, you got to have your lyrics pulled up because you're not going to catch every bar right away. So we're going to go ahead and get into this song. Now obviously due to copyright I can't play the entire song for you, so we'll chop it up, we'll slop it up, we'll get it screwed like it's Houston, and then we will talk about it. Alright, let's do it. The first song is called The Search.
Really didn't sleep much last night. I'm sorry. That's fine. Something funny's going on up in my house. Yeah, started thinking maybe I should move out. Blurry and things might hurt me. It's probably gonna be a long journey, but
so I've heard this song before because this is the video that I actually did the reaction to on the other channel. But one thing I talked about in that, and I already pick it up here, is that he continues to get more aggressive as like the verses go on, and I always think that's cool because it keeps building up that anticipation and that emotion. I also like when he said pretty vivid, I admit it, I'm in classic mode. I always take that as he knows that he's writing albums and songs that are going to live on forever. Okay, that bar right there is so sick. Yeah, the sales can rise, doesn't mean much though when your health declines. That's so cool because you think about it, like some of these celebrities, rappers, fucking rock stars, everybody, you put so much energy and time into this, and like you're gone all the time, you're never at home, you're always on tour, you're always writing, and everyone seems to look from the outside and think like, oh man, that's the life I want to live. But the truth is, like, you run yourself so thin at that point, and you often see a lot of these big stars are constantly like always sick or always depressed because if you're not ever just in one location to really heal yourself, or not putting 150% at all times of the day, you're going to get sick. Your health's going to decline both mentally and physical. So one thing I really like about him though is that it's not a bunch of lyrics left open to interpretation so far. Like, he's very direct with what he has to say, and I always appreciate that because, again, music is subjective and people can sit around and discuss what they think lyrics mean. But Nate really wants you to know exactly what he means, so he tells you. Okay, I'm so into that song being an intro. I just feel like it really sets the tone for what we're gonna get out of this album. Now, one thing I can tell based off his lyrics is that he's very good at storytelling and setting a mood, and I think that he purposely put this song as the intro, which means I'm super stoked to check out the additional 19 tracks we're about to get. Right away, I can see that Nate is a very emotional guy. He's very honest with his feelings. I feel like in hip-hop, a lot of the times, that's something that used to be clowned on, and people would look down on that type of lyricism and narrative. It's like if it wasn't hard, then it wasn't really accepted. And I think that's kind of where Nate has taken the twist, and he's picked up so many fans that would have not normally listened to hip hop. You can tell right away that the lyrics are going to draw you in. I listened to a lot of punk music and hardcore music, and a lot of it was because they wrote lyrics that sort of lined with myself and who I was as a person and how I was feeling. And I think Nate nails it right on the head with some of these. Like, I could put a heavier track behind it of like breakdowns with drums and have Nate deliver his lyrics a little more aggressively, and you'd have a punk song out of this. And I think that's really cool to see somebody bring that sort of lyricism over. He's not the first one to do it, but the fact that he's doing it on such a massive scale is really what's causing this like huge shift in music and getting fans to listen to hip hop where they would have normally not. Okay, the next song is called Leave Me Alone. Let me get my lyrics up and let's do it.
Interest. Why'd you visit? Hit the road, yeah, kinda twisted. So keep your distance, be a ghost. Yeah, see, I'm invincible when it's blowing. I got an umbrella for difficult moments. You gotta admit it, I'm very devoted. I'm out in the rain, but it don't always always. It's not okay. Quiet, 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 quiet. Hey, leave me alone.
There is so many great things about that song. So obviously, again, we get a very honest dude rapping, and there's so many lyrics in these bars, and that is something that today you don't often see in popularized hip-hop. Now, he is actually pretty popular. I see him show up everywhere, and to hear somebody getting this much exposure with this amount of lyrics, and they actually matter, they actually say stuff, they actually mean something, they're telling a story, in my opinion, that is going to be what really sets him apart through everything. Because again, modern day hip hop, while I love it, it is very different than it would have been 10 years ago and even 20 years ago. And you don't often see a lot of artists of NF's caliber getting airplay. I know he's had only like 1 or 2 songs on the radio, so I know he's not like super commercially successful on that end, but his streams are through the roof, his fan base is insane, and I think the part of it is that he actually talks about things that people can relate to. So again, he picks up this huge audience based on this kind of stuff, and it's great. I mean, I even like the fact, I got a lot to say. I like that he talks about his mental health, mental illness, talks about having OCD. You can tell he's obviously got depression, anxiety, and that's, you know, obviously for someone like me, that's the first thing that I'm like, yeah, bro, I feel this. So now I'm like hooked in, I want to read more. And then out of nowhere, as if like the storytelling in here wasn't good enough, he goes off on one of these last bars, and you know which one it is. Who you diss and move the switch and don't come in the kitchen. You should listen, cooking records for my hands are blissing. So persistent, don't forget this, hold attention, soul is bending. He goes so hard all the way down that bar. I was like so hooked on that. One other thing that I noticed in the song is that he actually references back to another track, obviously a track I've never heard, a song called No Name, when he was talking about having a conversation with Fame. So obviously as we work our way back in the albums, we'll finally get to that and we can talk about Leave Me Alone again. But overall, I love the honesty of this album. And if you were to take away the lyricism and he was just rapping about whatever, but he had that same delivery, he would still be just as popular, because his rap style is just so different from what's out right now, but it was so popular before. So to hear him come out with the same sort of aggression, same sort of delivery in his bars, his cadence, his flow, he would still be popular. So it's amazing to see him write lyrics that actually matter to him and get famous off something that he actually cares about instead of just fitting the mold of what everything else is. Okay, the next song is called Change.
I've been on it for a while, don't know how to put it down. Got a habit, it's a habit, I'm a break though. I just want breath holding my chest, to be honest, so I'm tired of it. Looking for something in my life to be inspired again. I like to walk around and act like I don't know it. If you're telling me I need to be different, that's the issue though. I'm always insecurity driven, taking the wrong turns, acting like I know where I'm headed with.
Damn.
I'm searching for
Song that I relate to. Again, brutally honest. And one thing that I love is that even though this was a slower paced song, he was not slower paced in his bars and his delivery. I think when you're rapping from the heart and you're rapping about shit you really care about, the emotion's going to come out no matter how hard the beat is. And NF really shows that in this song. Again, the honesty here, so good. So I really enjoyed the second verse in this track most of all because he says, yeah, I don't like new things, got a lot of mood swings. Oh, you want to tell me something negative? I don't want to hear what you think. And I think that I can relate to this so much because usually when I'm out of my comfort zone, it is when I am approaching something new. And the mood swings things, that's irritability that comes with anxiety and depression, which if you guys have that, then you would know that that's exactly what happens. You could be perfectly fine, something small happens, and suddenly you are a ticking time bomb. And then right here, but difficult to do when I feel like I hate life. Everyone around me thinks I'm a great guy, but I don't ever think it, so I feel like I'm fake lying. I love the fact that he has no shame in everything that he's going through. And I think it's powerful for people of his caliber and where he's at in the industry to be able to open up and speak like this, because I've had to go to bands forever for this kind of therapy. And the fact that, you know, it doesn't have to be a metal band, it doesn't have to be a punk band, you can get that same therapy from somebody doing hip hop at such a big level is just crazy to me. It's crazy to hear. And the fact that this is a slow song and he decided to still put this many bars in, like, I can imagine a writing process for NF is probably insane because there's got to be so many levels to writing a song with this much depth that's only, like 4 minutes. I think it's also important that we note that the hook was the right amount of emotion there with that, like, change, and it, like, came in kind of hard. I like that he takes that moment to take a little bit of a break in that hook before he goes right back into the bars. Again, even on a slow song, he's turning it up and killing it. So far, 3 songs in, not one I don't like, and I feel like at the end of this, I'm going to be an NF fan, to be honest with you. Okay, the next song is called My Stress.
Late nights, staring out the window doing 85.
Oh, I like this a lot.
Yeah, walking, get away from all this negativity. I think I need a break from. I'm thankful, but some days for my stress, you know. Some days I just want to leave the negativity. God led me, or did I get involved with something that was too heavy? I drive until I'm lost and just sit in my car yelling.
So I actually liked that in this song, he switched the flow and the cadence up a bit. First, I think he sounded really great doing his own hook. His little bit of a singing voice that he has really works well for this. And I always find it easy to appreciate an artist that can do their own hook as well, especially in hip hop. That's something that you don't always see. Sometimes you do, but usually it's a feature. And it's kind of fun to see him do his own because you get a whole new take on his vocals in this. I just feel like the way he was delivering these lines was cool. Late night, staring out the window doing 85. Got my state of mind, yeah, walking on a gray line, hoping that the stress dies. Like the way that he delivers his bars, for it to be track 4 and switching the style on me, now I'm kind of like on my toes as to what I'm gonna get next from him. Again, the lyrics in this song, like I don't know how often he puts an album out, but I can't imagine the writing process for this. Like I'm sure that it's not difficult because it's him. Like he's writing himself. He's writing what he cares about, what he feels. Like I wonder what a studio session is like for NF. Like I wonder if he feels it so strongly that this is all one take, or if he just gets it written and he's like, okay, I know the exact beat. Let's just do this. So some of the lyrics that I really liked in this song were him talking, like discussing about his impact on hip-hop and his career with hip-hop. He says, these stress levels are not healthy. I'm waiting for that call saying records are not selling. I wonder when this all disappears and they forget me. Will I feel like I found who I was or be more empty? Almost as if like you dedicate so much of your life to this one thing and you feel like that's been your outlet forever, and you've been fortunate enough it's very lucrative and you've made a career out of it. But what if like it was all just temporary and it really didn't matter? Like what do you do when everybody just kind of forgets about you? And I can imagine from someone on this level the amount of stress and weight that bears on you, because you're constantly sitting around wondering if all this time and effort is even worth it at the end of the day. But I will say, from my perspective, I would say that I don't think anybody's forgetting NF. I bet there's a lot of you out there that were broken or that are broken or that deal with a lot of problems in your life, and you can relate to his music so heavy, and for that reason people will never forget you. I can also pick up in this, I know that he credited Eminem as being one of his people that it really inspired him, and you can definitely tell that in some of these bars. His delivery of this definitely reminds me of like recovery era Eminem, and I think that was one of my favorite versions of Eminem, just being raw, honest, and sober. And I definitely think NF really picks up on that in some of these bars here. Okay, the next song is called Nate. So let's get the lyrics up and let's check this out.
Times I wanna disappear like I just don't exist. I find a time machine to take me back when I was 6. You know you feel like you're alone and no one loves you maybe. And you uncover insecurities with lots of anger. Doubt he had to take us from her. You look uncomfortable, I'm sorry. Let me change the subject. You know how we've always struggled with a band. Get the track number 4, now that's a really sad one. Yeah, Perception's coming next, we about to reach the masses.
Wow. That song right there really hit me in my feelings. So that song essentially is Nate having a conversation with himself, older self having a conversation with his younger self. And I'll be 29 this year, and I always think about these first 2 lines. Sometimes I want to disappear like I just don't exist, or find a big time machine and take me back to when I was 6. Man, I have goosebumps off that song. Damn. I knew after those first 2 lines that this is going to be just too much for me to handle today. I mean, there's so many notable lyrics here. I don't want to sit here and read them all to you. But I really like, you find out pretty quick life is more than just appearances. I know some things we could avoid to save embarrassment, but everything that breaks you down can also build your character, because people love to see you fail, just be aware of it. I mean, just imagine, like, set yourself up in this situation where you can go back and talk to yourself as a kid. I don't know about you guys. I got bullied as a kid. I moved around a lot, so I didn't really have a lot of friends either. And, you know, you start to read this and you start to read what he's talking to his younger self about. And I feel like I relate to this guy a lot. And I bet a lot of you feel that way too, which is probably the reason why NF is, like, so protected. Like, everybody loves NF. If you're a fan of NF, it's not like you're just a casual fan. Most people are really into him. And I get it. I'm literally reading this and, like, getting goosebumps because I can literally picture this conversation, but with myself. So in that second verse, he talks about his parents being separated when they were young, and then everything that was kind of going through those situations, talking about, you know, mom hiding boyfriends, dad getting custody, all this other stuff. It sort of led to how he feels today and his mental health from today. Crazy, there's a couple. One that really, like, related to me here. You know how intoxicated people make us nervous to the point sometimes we shake and it feels so disturbing? So I don't know if you guys know this about me. I've never drank, smoked, done drugs, anything like that. I don't believe in those things for me. I don't care if other people do them. It's just something that never sort of, like, worked for me, and something that I never, like, felt that I needed to go try, because I kind of, like, I don't know why. Maybe it's childhood. But what he says in those 2 lines, for me, that's exactly how I feel around intoxicated people. It makes me very uncomfortable. It makes me very nervous. And I know that growing up, my uncle was heavily involved into meth and alcohol and things of that nature. He was actually my role model of what I did not want to be as far as that goes. I saw what drugs do to your family, do to your life. I didn't want to be a part of that. I still feel that trauma of watching people intoxicated, people fighting. You know, anytime there's been alcohol involved in any situation in my life with someone else, it's never been a good situation at the end. Alcohol was never a mood. It was never a party vibe. It was always negative. And when I hear that and he says, don't be scared, that's just trauma trying to reach the surface and tell us everyone we love is going to try to hurt us. It's true. Alcohol and relationships for me has never worked. It's always been something negative, whether it be a family member or a significant other, whatever the case may be. It was never a good situation. And the fact that Nate can so perfectly put that into lyrics is absolutely insane to me. I also enjoy the conversation about all of his albums that he has to himself, and that makes me even more excited to check out the rest of his catalog, because I'm enjoying this content so much. I actually didn't think I was going to relate to much of it, and here I am on track 5, and I already feel like he wrote this album for me. I'm sure that's what a lot of you guys feel like, but I can definitely pick that up in the lyricism here. Up next is the song Time Extended. Let's check it out.
Hate me and we go to bed angry. I know everything. I'm afraid might get distant and I push you away, but no matter the case, I'ma do whatever it takes.
Woo! Damn.
You know me well, sitting on the edge of my seat, looking at life, over analyzing everything. Always depressed, trying to find a better.
So I love this song from NF. This is a conversation to his wife, obviously, and anyone else who is married or has been in a very long relationship, you sort of can totally relate to these lyrics. It's essentially Nate just explaining the demons that he deals with that come into the relationship, and how he's self-aware of what's happening, And at the end of the day, you know, he's going to be there and he loves you, but he understands that he needs to fix some of the problems that he's got going on, including the point when he says, I know that going to therapy is worth it for you. I'm a stress case, drive you up the wall when I'm working. Actually, I'm probably worse when I'm not. You don't deserve it. I bet when he's in, again, I've talked about it before on this video already, but I bet when he's in writing mode or studio mode, he's probably so tuned and dialed in. And I'm sure that you know, takes a toll. You know, I'm married, and in my relationship, especially like when I sit down on my computer, I really start working on videos and stuff. I mean, it's 8 to 10 hours a day base level, and I definitely get a little bit stressed out, especially when I make these deadlines in my head that don't exist. And I can imagine, you know, the toll that takes on my relationship as well. So to hear NF talking about it, you know, it's nice to be able to relate to somebody on that end. Even if we both break down tonight and you say you hate me, we go to bed angry. I know everything will be all right. I'll be here waiting. I promise I'm changing. I just need time. I mean, that hits deep, especially if you realize that a relationship is two people. Your demons and their demons are brought into that relationship, and it requires you to work on yourself. You can't be in a good relationship until you are good as a person or you're working on yourself. And Nate is very honest about what he's going through in the song. But I relate to this. You know me well, sitting on the edge of my seat, looking at life, overanalyzing everything, always depressed, trying to find a better version of me, searching for something I know probably is right in front of my feet. I mean, I relate to that so much. I get it. Like, I do this. You know, I have a really great relationship and we don't fight very much at all. But the fights are usually because I'm sitting around over analyzing everything. I think about it in my YouTube business. I think about it in just daily life. I think about, like, if I have to go down to the mailbox, I start over analyzing it, over analyzing the steps. And what if I see somebody and I have to talk to somebody because I have social anxiety? There's so many layers to this. And at the end of the day, that all comes out on your relationship. And Nate to be able to put that into words and sing it to his wife is just, that's a beautiful moment on this record. And it's a damn good song. Like, you can't beat that. That's perfect. Okay, the next song is called Returns.
Very disturbed, stare at the earth like this is not the place I was birthed. I'm generic, you sure?
Damn. He just went off. I actually wasn't expecting him to have a song like this on this record. Just judging by the lyrical content we've had so far, I didn't really see him to put himself in a song like this, but I am so here for it. Like, I'm glad this happened. This was a flex. This was Nate saying, hey, I deserve to be where I'm at. I'm good at what I do. This is my craft. Like, he was straight up going in on this. There was some really great moments, but I think it's very important that we talk about the obvious moment on this track. He literally just said, no, I in team. Drop the TNA, and it's only me. Okay, I can do that. I feel like Taylor Swift just did that same thing. Rip that cocky smile right off your face for thinking you're close to me. Grab a can of gasoline, light it all over your self-esteem. Selfishly watching y'all helplessly pretend you're on my planet, shoot you out of the sky like your punchlines you are not landing. Dude, he went off on this. I actually like a flex song like this. He does have the lyrical capabilities to be up against anyone right now. I don't know content-wise if his stuff is the same as many other people, but I have a feeling that Nate would have no problem writing a song that is on modern day levels to be able to go against someone lyrically. I mean, his punchlines, his flow, his cadence, the aggressiveness in his voice, the emotion in his raps, he totally deserves to be where he's at. I can definitely see that listening to his stuff now. I can tell just by his writing style and his delivery that his talent is obviously much bigger than what a lot of people have probably given him. I feel like a lot of people probably sleep on NF. I'm one of them. I didn't really understand what he was, what the music was going to be. And to be honest, everything I've heard so far has been so sick in so many different ways. If I need an emotional song, Nate's got one. If I want to flex, this is the song right here. And we're only 7 tracks into this record. 7 tracks, and I feel like we've already had a lot of emotion, and we've had a lot of build-up and hype on this track. So I'm excited to see what is next to come. I feel like it'd be very odd to listen to an NF album and not have the lyrics. Like, I don't know that I could just listen to this and be like, oh yeah, that's hard. Oh shit. I don't know if I could do that on this. I feel like he has a lot to say, and I think it is literally 90% of the content. Yeah, his delivery and everything is big, but what makes NF NF is the delivery of the content. All right, so the next track we're gonna check out is a song called When I Grow Up.
And I will never succeed, but I'm okay with it. I admit the lyrics are weak. I've been working on them, I'll be good eventually. I'ma get a record deal and say hello to nice girl. I just wanna pay my bills. Grabbing by the
Damn.
let me play a couple tracks. No, come on, I can spin it really fast. No, you think I should throw this in the trash? No.
So I feel like this is sort of one of those like second tracks of him talking to himself. This is almost as if like he wrote this right after that conversation with Nate a couple tracks back, like, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a rapper. And it's crazy because everything that he says in these lyrics has essentially happened to him. I mean, he's had the crowd where everybody's singing all of the lyrics to all of his songs. He probably does have a mansion in the hills now. I just like this one part. I could go to college, get in debt like everybody else, graduate and probably get a job that doesn't pay the bills. That don't make a lot of sense to me. Forget the Happy Meals. I don't want the dollar menu. Rather make a meal. Huh? Make a meal? Ah, I said make a meal. Home cook it, get the grill. Like the way that whole line flowed was just so sick. But it's cool because it's him rapping from already have done all this, rapping about the dreams he had at that time. But again, I feel like this is one of those tracks that are also a flex track at the same time because he has accomplished all these things. So for him to put it in these lyrics and deliver it the way he is, like, when I grow up, this is what I want to do. Like, hey, I achieved my dreams of what I wanted to do. Do you ever feel alone? Yeah, I feel alone. Like, he was able to talk about rapping about emotion and getting to where he wanted to be. But he's also placing himself like this was all he ever wanted to do. So it's cool to hear him sing from the past in his current state. I like that. I also saw like a real small clip from the music video, and he was like riding on the back of a trash pickup service and rapping these initial lyrics. When I grow up, you know what I want to be? Take a seat, let me tell you about my ridiculous dreams. I want to rap. And it was kind of cool to see him like literally just being a garbage man and talking about how he really wanted to be a rapper. And I mean, now look where NF's at. He's huge. And this album is probably going to be, I don't know if it's going to be his most selling record, but I think it is because I saw the hype for this one. There's so many videos coming out and stuff, and that really does help to add to streams and add to sales. So I really do hope this is his best album that comes because you kind of want an artist that you like. You want to continue to watch them growing and becoming more and more successful. And I definitely think so far, 8 tracks in, this could be one of those. All right, the next track is called Only, and it features Sasha Sloan.
You think I didn't know those things? Always been a little lost and it still might be. Life's hard, but it's okay. Cameras in my face, glamour, it's all fake. Love my job, but it might seem odd that I'm here because I hate fame. Getting drug and numb until we hit the point that we can barely function. Am I motivated? Is my music dated? Would I be the same if I me? By myself, lost that half of me. God, there has to be.
Damn. I think NF just went off on this song right here. Okay, so some of the lyrics right away. He says, watching the comments feels like I'm at a court date. How could I complain with a house like that and a car in the driveway? I bet that is probably a real situation that he deals with a lot because his music is very emotional, very self-reflective, and he's always sad and depressed. And I bet a lot of people were like, oh yeah, how could you be sad with a mansion like that? Or you drive a Lambo, bro, how could you be sad? Because people don't always realize that those material items, while they're cool and people really want them, and you know people work really hard to get them, at the end of the day, you're still you, no matter what you own. So you could have the biggest house in the world and still be the saddest person in the world. And most people don't seem to realize that the correlation between material items and happiness isn't there. Yes, they bring you joy, and yes, they bring you happiness, but it's not going to change who you are mentally. Like putting on, you know, that Versace shirt, hopping in your Lambo and driving away might feel great for the moment, but you know, when that moment's over, you're still the same person. And he nailed it right there, talking about that his comments are like that and it feels like a court date. I also really enjoyed this right here when he says, yeah, if you made a list of people that you trusted, would you put your name down? Do you know who you are? When you look at life and you talk about yours, do you feel proud? Are you leaving a mark or scared to make a bad impression so you just go hide in the dark? I relate to that so much, and I feel like a lot of you probably do as well, where, you know, I still feel like I'm young. I'm still searching for who I really am and who I want to be, and I've had so many changes in my life, so many career changes, so many, you know, living situations. Again, I moved so much throughout my life that it took me a long time to really figure out who I was, and I'm still looking for that. I'm still looking for that answer. And then the biggest part that he says right here is, or are you scared to leave a bad impression so you hide in the dark? And oftentimes I do feel like that's true, and I believe that that is probably what my social anxiety is that I'm, you know, even though I don't care for people to like me everybody wants people to like them in some sense, and I'm like terrified to walk into a new restaurant and do something stupid and leave a bad impression. And so yeah, oftentimes I find myself hiding in the quote unquote dark, but I just love the realness in NF's lyrics on this song. Delivery was great too. Obviously the hook is very catchy. They have like an up pitched Sasha Sloan. I had never heard her before, but it's up pitched and it sounds good. It reminds me of like some throwback Akon stuff with that. And I also like to hear Nate do his little bit of singing. I think that he actually shines in that moment, and I would love to hear him do more of his own hooks, which I'm sure he's done in his catalog because he's got like 96 songs. But again, another great song. I was hoping that I'd find a song I didn't like, because sometimes it's very easy to like stuff and it's not always easy to find the critiques. But dude, like everything's great so far. It's hard because he's literally speaking through me right now. I mean, I'm not a rapper, but a lot of the stuff he touches on I can vibe with so well, and it makes it very difficult to dislike it because it's what I want to say but can't put the words together to say. Okay, so up next we have the song called Let Me Go.
Rain falling from my dark skies, clouds parting, but it's all lies. You accept me, I just need acceptance. Time is of the essence, don't like how we spend it. You just want perfection. All of my insecurities, whenever I'm scared, I watch them grow and say I don't care. I pray to God to ask me hurt, don't want me to live, don't want me alive. Stop with the pretending, I don't feel respected, I just feel rejected.
Well, I'm not actually sure what this song is about or what he wrote it for, but my interpretation is this is a conversation with Nate's demons. It just seems like he's having a conversation with himself and a lot of his insecurities. And for a couple of lines that really solidified that for me, because I felt like I spent a little bit of the song trying to figure out what the conversation was. He says, I'll teach them a lesson, I'll pick up the weapon, aim in your direction, shoot at my reflection, shatter my perception, hate it when I'm desperate, you just want perfection, I want you to let me go. But the way that he delivers that throughout the rest of the song now, when I go back and I've been like reading through again, it's a conversation with himself about all these things that are going on in his head. So he says, please do not provoke, noose around my soul, I cut down a rope, they don't want me happy, they don't want me fixed, they don't want me better, they just want me broke, talk but never listen, at least I admit it, block out all my vision, watching me diminish, that's my favorite pastime, I know nothing different. Like the way that he's literally talking about how he wants to be different, he wants to get better, but his demons will not allow him to. His inner self is not allowing him to get better. They want to see him dead. They want to see him gone. They don't want to see him live up to his dreams. And that's at least what I interpret this as. Now, I may be totally wrong with that, but this is one of the songs that weren't directly like, here's the situation. I feel like the rest of his songs on this, the last 9, have been very, no interpretation necessary. This is exactly what I'm doing. But I definitely pick up a demon conversation here, an inner demon. And I like that because I feel like oftentimes we are battling with that inner demon where I want to do something, but everything in my head tells me that it's going to be wrong. You know, I'm dealing with these negative thoughts that, you know, I could just go and do this one thing, but the thoughts that I have racing in my mind are literally going to hold me back all the way and won't allow me, or I have to fight and have this inner battle to even justify if what I want to do is the right thing, because everything in my head is telling me, no, you're going to fail. This is dumb. Why don't you just kill yourself? And it's so amazing to see an artist like NF be able to facilitate that conversation onto paper and then give us such a great song. I like that it was very slow for a lot of it, and then as he could get more anger and rage, you could actually feel a beat come in, and I love when they actually plan that by putting a good beat behind a track and actually flowing with the emotion with it. So great song, great song. Great song. Okay, the next song is an interlude.
Alright, number 1 on the Billboard. My song is massive right now. I didn't feel happy at all. There's gotta be more for me because this is it. Like, it's not gonna work.
Okay, so that interlude, part of me was like, oh, it's just an interlude, it's gonna be instrumental. It definitely was not. So I think in the song only, we were talking about reading his comment section and feeling like, the mansion and this, how could you be so sad? And in interlude, he was literally just talking about how his most successful moment in life is when he was the most depressed. And that right there shows you that money, fame, power, all success, all those things will not stop the demons in your head. If anything, you're going to be battling harder because not only did he have all those feelings, but he's also battling demons. He's having to portray himself and personify himself a certain way when that isn't exactly how he's feeling. So I almost thought we were just going to get an instrumental there, but I didn't think Nate was the type of person to waste a track on an instrumental. He's got way too much to say, and I think the interlude was perfect. I hope people didn't skip over that. It's only 49 seconds, so just listen to it. Okay, the next song we're going to listen to is called Hate Myself.
Late nights are the worst for me. Every month the worst in me. My money got me feeling like it hurts to think. This is it then. I feel hopeless. Can't stand who I am, but it don't matter. We scream to be free, but I stay captured. Knee deep in defeat of my own actions.
So I think this was a great track to come right off that interlude where he was talking about how, you know, he's got all this going on, he's so successful, everything's so great, and yet he's the most depressed that he's ever been. And the truth is, at the end of the day, it's that, you know, you're battling the fact that you hate yourself. I'm sure you guys can relate to this. Late nights are the worst for me. They bring out the worst in me. Mind running got me feeling like it hurts to think. If this is all I wanted, I don't want it. Gotta be more for me. He even said that in his interlude where he was talking about if this is it, if this is everything, there's got to be something more because this isn't going to work. That can mean a lot of different things. It could be him talking about the success level that he's at. He's too like it's not working. He needs more. Or it could have been the fact that he needs to change his direction a little bit to get more fulfillment. And that's sort of where he goes to in this line here when he says, I am not a spokesman. I'm a broken wreck who's sick of doing interviews because I hate myself. Come across like it's so easy, but I feel like you don't need me. And when I feel like you don't need me, then I feel like you don't see me. Then my life has no meaning, dreaming. And I think that may have meant something different, but what I pick up from it based on the interlude as well is that just getting the commercial success wasn't what was giving him fulfillment, but the fact that he was getting so many fans and he's able to speak to all of his fans and he's able to write these lyrics that so many people relate to, that's where he's getting his fulfillment. When he feels like you don't see him, that's when his life no longer has meaning, because at that point he's found his life's meaning to be able to write these lyrics. Now, I could be wrong. That's the interpretation I have from that, just based off the interlude phone conversation that we heard as well. Suicide thoughts come and go like a guest to me, but I don't want to die. I just want to get relief. So don't talk to me like you think I'm so successful. What is success when hope has left you? I mean, again, material, items, success, fame, fortune, all those things cannot fix NF. He is still sad because at the end of the day, you are still the same person. Great track. Again, I thought I was going to find something I didn't like, but 12 tracks in, and kind of liking all of these. In fact, some of these songs, like if you're listening to it just for like the sound of the song, so you listen to just the beat and his delivery, these songs are replayable already. But when you add the lyrics in, these songs are literally creating chapters in your life. These are different moments of your life, at least for me. And I'm assuming that if you're a big fan of NF, then you're probably a little bit broken too, because that's sort of the audience that he attracts. And I love that. I love that he can write music that people can relate to. Stuff that probably none of us would have had in common before, but we all kind of have this same feeling and it brings us all together. Like I bet an NF crowd probably is very diverse because it's so many different people from so many walks of life that are just relating to his lyrics. And that's a cool moment. Okay, the next track is called I Miss the Days.
Everything alone, it wasn't so cautious and always exhausted. And actually listen to things in my heart said. Yeah, but scared I ain't making a flight. Not always going to bed every night with this knot in my stomach that never unwinds. I miss the sun and underneath the sun, staring out the window when the rain comes.
Whoa. I don't often listen to hip hop songs where I feel like I'm gonna have to hold back tears, but I did in this one, if I'm being honest with you guys. Like, I'm better these days, but I can definitely say that in my early 20s, I would say like 19, 20, 21, 22, this song probably would have hit even harder, but it hits hard knowing that I know that I was in this moment before. I miss the days when I had a smile on my face, wasn't so caught up in all the small things, wasn't so adamant that I could handle everything alone, and wasn't so cautious and always exhausted and actually listened to things that my heart said. Riding my bike, not overthinking my life, not always wondering if I'm a likable person or somebody that nobody likes. I don't want to sit here and read the lyrics to you, but like, I can't just pinpoint one or two bars from this. I need to read the whole damn song because it hits so deep and I vibe so well with this. Oftentimes I would sit and I would think about like how broken I would feel and how depressed I was, and all I ever wanted to do was go back to like being like 8 or 9, go back to the moments where I'm just riding my skateboard and listening to music and not worried about every little thing. But it's like the more I grew, the older I got, the worse everything got, and I constantly wish that I could just go back to that moment. I always like picture the same moment. I'm like 9 years old. I live in an apartment in Las Vegas, and I'm sitting outside and I'm skateboarding with my two friends. And in that moment, I had not a single care in the world other than what was happening right then. And now I can't even take a chill pill for like 5 seconds to not think about all of the things that I have to do in my life and, you know, this or that. And now, you know, I'm very fortunate that YouTube and social media is going well, but now I have this constant stress and this black cloud over me of caring about what people think about me. He pretty much sums this up so perfectly. You know, not always wondering if I'm a likable person or someone that nobody likes, not always stressing about money or losing my job or scared that I'm making the flight, not always going to bed at every night with this knot in my stomach that never unwinds. Like, how can he write so deep into my soul? And one thing that he really alludes to in this song is that, you know, he even says it in a line where he's talking about how everything he went through, was it worth it? Well, it's what got him all of his dreams and made him successful, was going through all of the things that he did to lead him to where he's at. But it'd be so much easier to just go back and transport yourself back to being a kid and not having any of these worries anymore. Take me back when I was happy but I wasn't acting, vulnerable but didn't see it like some kind of weakness or a thing that's unattractive, had emotion but I learned to mask it, didn't know what I was running after, didn't know the older I would grow the more I lose control. Vibe with that so well. You know, I was turning on an NF album. I thought we were just gonna have a good listening session, talk about some sick beats, maybe some good bars, and here I am having to have a therapy session with NF right now. Like, what is happening to me? Okay, the next song we're gonna listen to is a song called No Excuses. Let me get my lyrics pulled up because NF is lyrics.
Do it loud. No excuses. I got no excuses. Make improvements. I just like to break rules. Maybe start some new trends. Live the life that I choose. But at least try to find out who you in around.
Damn.
I like facts, sound like a song.
Okay, so what I really like about this album is that despite all of the, like, you know, self-hatred, self-sabotage, depressing lyrics that we're going through, the hating yourself and all those other things, he knows where he stands in this rap game, and it's untouchable. And this is another song where he goes off and he does a flex on that. Yeah, really talking about the fact that he deserves to be where he's at. He delivers the lyrics, he delivers the bars, he's got the song, he's got the hits, there's no issue there. I really like when he said, there's a couple things I'm confused with. I did an interview with a guy who was pretty clueless. You don't have to know the album names or all my music, but at least try to find out who you in the room with. Almost like he's not important. Like, why the game looking at me like I'm a tourist? They should know I'm here to stay. This verse is getting boring. And then he just unloaded the bars. And I like to hear a song like this on this album because, look, it is sad. And there is a lot of themes that we're discovering here. But he's not afraid to at least say, hey, despite all of this sadness, I deserve to be here. I can do this same thing you guys are doing. My lyrics are just going to be a little bit different, but I absolutely deserve where I'm at. He's got the money, the fame, the sales, the fans, the merch. He's got it all. He deserves to be where everyone else is. The only difference is, you know, instead of talking about lean and, you know, all this other stuff, murder, death, like stuff that is typical in hip hop, he is more exploring ideas of self-realization and self-reflective rap. And in my opinion, that's pretty strong. I wouldn't call it conscious rap because I think that would box him in. I think this is more of just rap from the heart. Man, if you're sad, say it. Don't front. And NF doesn't front. But I love that he has no problem getting on a track and talking his shit. And that's exactly what he did here. Great track. All right, the next song is called Like This.
Holding back. Yeah. He had to stand still. Too much time alone is when it gets real. Future doesn't pop up in the past. Like this. I didn't know that it would be all these things I hold inside. I just can't forget.
Okay, so I actually had to go back and read the lyrics a couple times to really try to grasp the concept of the song. And what it sounds like is he's talking about how no matter how like far he gets, his old self is always trying to come back and come after him. And this is just my interpretation. I could be totally wrong. Please let me know in the comment section if I am missing it here. But he says a couple things here, like he says, stop with all the threats, like the more I get to know you, I just know you less. Another city I don't know well, feeling too much like my old self, backsliding, got me in my sad feels, got me at a standstill. Too much time alone is when it gets real. The future doesn't pop up, then the past will. Outside, that's the rear view, now I'm going downhill. And it makes me think that the song is about him, no matter how much success and how much fame and how he keeps moving forward both mentally, physically, successfully, commercially, all those things. His old self is always trying to bring him back and pull him out of where he's at and keep him from achieving that forward progress and forward motion that he has. And then I like how he sort of personifies his old person here. He says, I just let the phone ring, we ain't even close, please. Throwing out opinions from the nosebleed. Lots of issues that you don't see. Texts that I just won't read. Play it off because it cuts deep. In my opinion, he's talking about his old self trying to contact him. And, you know, no matter what, like even when he's on stage, you've got that one person in the crowd, his old self, from the nosebleed section. You suck, you're a piece of shit, you're never gonna go anywhere, you're always gonna be depressed, whatever. And this is NF just really talking about having that conversation with us about how no matter where he goes, he's always got something trying to bring him back. That's my take on it. Maybe you guys feel something different, or maybe he did an interview talking about it, but that's just sort of what I'm picking up when I go through this song. So the next track we're gonna listen to is a song called Options.
Potentially bigger I get, the more they think less of me. Don't be the one to insult my integrity. Put that law, my brain has no offense. Doesn't matter either way to me, cause even if it did, I would destroy it. Used to be employee, now I'm in without the writers. UFC without the fighters. Smoking without the fire. Someone try to tell me I can never be the good of rap. I go limits. I was born with the short trip, thinking I'm slipping. I'm enjoying this. Look at me, I'm on the tour.
So we just got another track of Nate talking his shit, and I actually really like when he does it because it's very welcomed on this album. He doesn't do it too much. Again, we have a lot of self-reflection on this album, but when he does it, I think it's very justified. Even just little things like I had a job making minimum wage, told myself that I gotta get paid, prove myself, yeah, get up my grades, walk into the class like give me that A. And just the way that he delivers that, you can tell that he's really on his shit with this. Here's a reminder that I still spit. Think I need to advise you to watch your lip, or at least realize that I'm not no kid. Don't Google my name trying to find my crib. Write a pop song that I write like this. His entire second verse, tool bag without the pliers, intro without the choirs, new car without the tires, that whole run was just so good from him. And then he obviously comes in with that flow, which Nate just does so well at this point. And I like that when he does change the flow, he talks about it. He says, change flows and I'm bored with it. More livid, never more driven. I avoid timid. Try to tell me I can never be the goat of rap. I ignore limits. I was born with this. You're tripping, thinking I'm slipping. I like that because here's the thing. Will Nate be the goat of rap? It could be a thing as time goes on. He could continue to do what he does. And one day he could be considered a goat of rap. That is true. However, it might not happen. Let's just be real. It might not happen. But he's not letting that stop him from at least trying to obtain that, because you would reach for a goal even if you fall short. You may not be a GOAT, but you'd be considered one of the greatest, and I think that's a pretty big deal. I don't know that there's a lot of successful rappers that have made it to Nate's level talking about the content that Nate talks about. Because even though the sound, the beat, the delivery, all that sounds good, I don't think that's enough to make it big. What really sets him apart is the lyricism and the fact that every word, every line, there is no wasted verse here. There is no wasted bar. That's a big deal these days. Usually you get like a couple of good bars and the rest of them are kind of just fillers, but I don't feel like he has any filler content here. I'm pretty sure he mentioned that in one of his songs before as well, if I remember correctly. But I'm looking for filler and I'm not finding it. Everything has a point. Every line has a point, and every line drives the narrative of the song. And that, I think, is one of the biggest reasons why I'm probably going to keep listening to NF, because he's got a lot to say, which means I got some open ears, and I got to get my lyric sheets out for everything that he does. All right, the next track we're going to listen to is called Why.
Just let me rhyme, I'm in disguise. I'm a busy person, got no time for lies. Keep to myself, they think I'm sorta shy. Organized, let you down's the only song you've heard of, well then you're behind. My life is a movie, but there ain't no telling what you're gonna see in my cinema. I wanna be great, but I get in the way of myself and I think about everything that.
So as the song title is Why, you can literally hear him questioning everything that he does on this track. Who I am and who I want to be cannot connect. Why? Don't think I deserve it, you get no respect. I push away the people that I love the most. Why? I don't want no one to know I'm vulnerable. Why? But I really like that there's a little bit of humor in this track as well. He does things like, stop asking me questions, I want to feel alive until I die. But the way that he's delivering that flow, that's not an NF flow. And he literally says, this isn't Nate's flow. But then he backs that up with, just let me rhyme, I'm in disguise. I'm a busy person, got no time for lies, one of a kind. I just feel like he's really on his shit with this. And I feel like a lot of this song, again, is more of a flex. He's literally calling me out here when he says, Let You Down's the only song you heard of, well then you're behind. Story time, wish that I could think like Big Sean does, but I just can't decide. I just like the fact that we're getting a little bit more of a hip hop side of NF. He's more connecting with the culture in this song. And I think that's important because despite the lyrical content and everything else, at the end of the day, NF is a part of the hip hop culture. And it's important to at least shout that out a little bit. He did it with his flow styles here. He did it with shouting out Big Sean. He did it by calling out the fact that, oh, you might know my one popular song, but if that's all you know, then you're way behind. Doing that little bit of flex that he needs to. And I feel like that really added to the overall value of this song. Plus, at the end of the day, the flows in it were so good. There's so many good lines here. I'm not going to sit here and read the whole lyric sheet to you because I've been doing that this whole time. But this was definitely a fun song, and it seems like NF had a little bit more fun on this track than sadness, and I like that. Okay, the next song we're going to listen to is a song called Thinking.
Like, you don't really know what's up, yeah. Why you always trying to judge? I know who you are, yeah. Why you, I'm just realistic. That's how I feel like that a twisted view. Claim that I don't care what people think, but is that really true? Hope I'm learning right. I know that everything comes with a price, yeah. Yeah, everything comes with a price.
Okay, so obviously I'm not going to sit here and read every lyric to you, but this is definitely another one of those songs with that self-reflection that I think Nate just does so well on. I think judging by the rest of these tracks that we've listened to, there's something about his delivery on these types of songs that make you connect and feel. And some of the, especially like verse 2, the first couple bars almost had a Drake style flow to it. Like him or not, Drake's emotional delivery is probably one of the best in the game. He can make you feel like you just went through that breakup, and he can describe it so well. And a lot of it has to do with the cadence of his flow. And Nate actually picked up on a similar cadence in this track. But definitely my favorite part of this was, yeah, I wish I was optimistic. I wish that I could trust my intuition. To most, negative thinking makes you a pessimist. But to me, negative thinking means I'm just realistic. And I like that he called out the fact that that's a twisted view, talking about, you know, why he couldn't just be positive and why he just looks at things from a negative perspective in a more realistic way that he's not going to get there. And I think that's something that depression really does to you, is it starts to boggle down any hopes and dreams of being able to be successful and to reach those levels of success because you're looking at it from this realistic negative standpoint. And I feel like I do the same thing. I'll like make a video and I'm like, okay, I feel like this has a lot of potential to do well, but in my head, I'm like, this video is not going to get any views. No one's going to care about it. I sound like an idiot talking on it. I should probably edit half of the thing out because I rambled too much. And I put together this very negative thought pattern in my creativity. And I feel like Nate, because he has such a huge audience, probably goes through those exact same feelings because in his mind, he is going to flop, even though we all know that's not the case at all. In fact, he's thriving. But when you have that situation in your head, you're always worried about what's going to fall next and why it's not going to do well, even though people are going to support him, even if the song was trash, although I don't know if he can make trash. All right, the next track is the song called Trauma, and it is the second to last song, which I'm actually pretty bummed about because I'm enjoying this little listening session here. I always like a moment when I can sit with an artist, sit with their album, sit with their lyrics, and just let them speak to me for, 1, 2, 3 hours, however long it takes. Usually these take a long time because I talk a lot. But it's fun to be able to just sit here and enjoy that moment with an artist, and I'm definitely having that moment with NF, which is good because it's going to open up the idea of me checking out the remainder of his catalog just because I've had such a great time with these songs so far. Okay, the next song is called Trauma.
And I'm drowning. I feel my heart pounding. Screaming, yelling. I feel my heart pounding.
So this was a very different mood on this album. Again, Nate surprises me because I was not expecting to hear this song on it. It's amazing to hear him singing though, because I do believe that that's one thing that I didn't hear enough of on this album. And even the singing styles that we heard, he's got a few different vocal styles here. So heard him with more of the hook and sample type of sound, and then we hear this song, which is like honestly just like super sad. And what I'm picking up here, I don't know if I'm right, I don't know how religious NF is, but it feels like this is a conversation with God, and I could be wrong, but just some of the things he's saying, you say you're there when I feel helpless. If that's true, why don't you help me? Grab my hand, I'm drowning, I feel my heart pounding, why haven't you found me yet? It kind of reminds me of the Frey song that song You Found Me, with Lost and Insecure, You Found Me, Lying on the Floor, You Found Me. And I kind of feel like that's a similar vibe that I'm picking up off this song, Trauma. Grab my hand, I'm drowning. I told you so proudly, traumas, they surround me. I wish you'd love me back. Showing like, hey, I have so much love for God and so much love for the Lord and all these things, and I don't feel like where are you? Why are you not saving me? And that's just what I'm picking up off this. Again, I could be totally wrong. This one feels like it's a little bit more open for interpretation. It is not as direct as Nate sometimes likes to write, but this was a definitely interesting change up. This is what I was expecting like the interlude to be. I didn't expect the interlude to be a phone call, and I think this is welcomed here. It's the only song that really sounds like this. It's the only time that we've heard Nate in this type of vocal style delivering this type of song, and it definitely was impactful. And to feel Nate's broken voice when he's singing this, it definitely adds to the emotion. Okay, the last song on the album, unfortunately, is the song called Time. So we are going to check this out. Again, I'm a little bummed that we're going to be done with this album already. It feels like it's only been well, I mean, I guess the album's only an hour and 16 minutes. It's been about 2 hours for me, 2.5. So we're gonna finish with Time.
Can be a difficult person. I'm a stress case, drive you up the wall when I'm working. Actually, I'm probably worse when I'm not.
Okay, so that was just Time again. The other one was Time Extended, but it was only a 9-second difference. I didn't really notice a difference in this song. So it was just a little interesting to be the closer for the album. I kind of wish that maybe it wasn't on here and Trauma could have just been the closer. It could have ended with that emotion, or there would have been some sort of an outro. I feel like with an album that was so great for so long, it would have been cooler to have a little bit better of an outro. But that's the only critique I have for this thing. Like, that's amazing. I spent so many hours now sitting here reading lyrics, listening to this, reading through lyrics, and that's the only critique I have, is that the album is ending in a way that I don't agree with. And maybe part of that is that I'm bitter because I don't want the album to be over yet. But I realize that there's a back catalog of NF's discography that I have to listen to. And so you guys gotta let me know in the comment section if that's something that you're interested in me doing. But I do have to say, judging based off the singles of like little things that I had heard, an album is definitely the way to go here. He's got a lot to say, and if he's making it into a single, it's not gonna have the same amount of power that some of the lyrics and some of the content in these songs is gonna have in this album. I preach this on the channel a lot. One, you listen to your album start to finish. You start with the intro track, you end with the final track. Maybe after you listen to it 10 times, you can put it on shuffle, but in order to understand where Nate is coming from, listen to his story from his perspective, you have to listen to the start to finish. Here's the thing. Songs, albums, everything's mixed in a specific way to be presented in a specific way. So listen to your albums in order. That's one. Two, there is something special about spending an intimate moment where you have lyrics, you have the album, this camera, me just sitting here listening to this and experiencing this artist in the most like dedicated way I possibly can. Actually allotting many hours of my life to an album to be able to really experience it. And I really enjoy doing that, especially when it's an artist like NF or an NF caliber artist. It doesn't have to be hip hop, it could be any genre. But someone who has this type of writing that's going to give me this type of emotional response and feeling, especially when it's hip hop. Hip hop is my favorite genre. If I can get my favorite genre that also works as a therapy session for myself, not like, I like Drake, okay? I go to Drake when I'm feeling sad about relationships and stuff, or, I just want to be in my feelings. But you can go to NF for this therapy session, and it's absolutely amazing because he is able to put into words things that I've been feeling my entire life. And that's true with someone who's trying to get help and working on themselves, is that they know how to express it just a little bit better. And I caught that on this album so hard. So I definitely think this is the album that I'll be going back to very frequently. There were some very notable tracks on here, some really great lyrics, and I just feel like that experience was not enough for me. So you guys got to let me know in the comment section if you want to see more NF on this channel. Let me know your thoughts on this album. Was it everything you expected it to be? Is it his best work? Is there more to Nate that meets the eye that I need to see? Let me know, because I really enjoyed this. I didn't expect to enjoy it this much. I didn't expect to connect with the lyrics this much, but I did. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter. If you want to help support the channel, if you like the content, make sure to check out my Patreon. there is all kinds of cool membership benefits, and it's just a cool way to support the channel and allow me to continue to make videos like this for you. I also have a personal channel where I do vlogs, challenges, things like that. It is going to be one of the first links in the description. Thank you guys so much for all of your support, and thank you for showing me cool artists like this, artists that I probably would have never went out and listened to on my own. I really appreciate you. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.